Hi, I'm Patrick, and this is my brother Jordan. And you are watching kind of a pilot episode of our podcast where we are going to hopefully be talking about horror movies that we watch. We're both big fans of horror movies, old and new, and we thought it would be fun to get together, watch horror movies. We've already been doing that part for quite some time, and maybe put up some videos telling our thoughts on them and just kind of letting you guys in on our thought processes and what we've been watching. So, Jordan, what are we going to be discussing here in this pilot episode of our as yet unnamed podcast?
Oh, some movie we saw. What was it again?
Well, we finished watching it about 15 minutes ago, and it's rapidly fading from my memory. But,
House of the Innkeepers.
yeah, it was The Innkeepers by Ty West, who is a young director of horror films who's pretty acclaimed. There's a lot of buzz around this guy. So The Innkeepers is his newest film. It's streaming now on Netflix, which is where we watched it. He also did an earlier movie called House of the Devil,
Which you've seen.
which I've seen. Jordan hasn't seen, but I have since forgotten a lot of that movie. I remember I basically enjoyed it, but I don't really remember it that well. So we won't really be talking about that movie.
Well, now, how did you first find out about Ty West?
I don't remember where I first heard of him. I'm sure I read about House of the Devil on a blog or a website, maybe a magazine somewhere.
But you came to it through the movie, not through the director. Basically, like you heard of the movie.
Yeah, like I hadn't. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think there was like a lot of buzz around House of the Devil, and I mean, it might have even been like a mainstream review, like Roger Ebert or something like that. But I heard of the movie.
He did have high praise for it.
Yeah, that it was supposed to be a good, flick. And as a horror fan, you always kind of, or at least I do, I really take note whenever any new horror movie develops any level of buzz. Because so much of what is put out there in the horror genre is just schlock. It's just crap. It's just really forgettable. It's not very good. It's very generic. It's very pandering. So if you like the genre, but you also, are capable of critically evaluating film, which I think we both are, it can be frustrating. So whenever I hear that like a new horror movie has generated any kind of buzz, I'm always
Positive or negative.
Well, yeah, positive or negative. I'm always kind of interested in it. So there must have been. I know there was buzz around House of the Devil, so that's why I watched that and I saw it. But like I said, it didn't. I remember liking it. It didn't really stick with me. It was done in the kind of style of like a 1980s horror movie, so it kind of had that look and feel, which I did appreciate about it. So that was my introduction to Ty West. I'm like, okay, this is he's talented, but I wasn't like, I did not fall in love with him as a director. And then recently I saw another much buzzed about new horror film, the anthology VHS, which you also haven't seen.
You're such an expert.
Yeah, you're very underqualified for this.
One out of three ain't bad.
No. Actually, you're probably overqualified for this. But so I saw VHS. And that is an anthology film with different directors working on it. Ty West directed one of the segments in that film, which was overall a pretty good movie, I thought. Ty West was one of the best pieces in that movie. And I think it's the best thing he ever did. So I had a little bit of knowledge
That's
of this
probably
director.
the only thing that got you from point A to point B, from House of the Devil to...
Yeah, I might not have
been
if it hadn't. Yeah, you're right. If it hadn't been for, because I was vaguely aware that he had a new one out, The Innkeepers.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, like, they go straight to streaming, so it's kind of like that's the equivalent of straight to DVD. So automatically, it's got a stigma to it. That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, but
I'd heard of Ty West, but his movies never were available.
Yeah, they're more
only available.
They're more streaming and on
right
DVD.
away they're available. So,
but I feel like that stigma's going away.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I don't think it pans out, but that's what initially my first reaction was.
Yeah, you thought he was kind of like a direct-to-video kind of guy.
Yeah.
Which I think is his
He kind of
started out that way. Yeah, but you're right. I didn't like House of the Devil enough that I would have necessarily seen. What the hell was the name of this new movie? That's so forgettable.
Are You Afraid of the Dark? The movie.
Yeah, whatever. Ty West.
The Innkeepers.
The Innkeepers. So I probably would not have seen The Innkeepers just based on the strength of House of the... I probably would have gotten around to it eventually, but you're right.
Let's just edit it right now and say you probably should not see The Innkeepers.
Yeah, just skip it. That's what this is all leading up to. We have a lot more to say about why we watched this movie than about the movie itself, because... okay, so let's talk about... So what is the basic premise of The Innkeeper? It's not a metaphor. It's about innkeepers. It's very descriptive. It's not like Dog Day Afternoon or something. It
is a movie.
Yep. It certainly was a movie.
It is available for free on Netflix.
Well worth the price of admission.
That's it.
Yep.
It's starring people.
Yep.
And things sometimes happen.
Yeah. And that last one might be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
So the premise of the movie is
it's a haunted
hotel. Yep, and it's this hotel is nearly abandoned. It's going to close down in like a week or something like that. These two young people are the only ones still working there, and they also are involved in investigating paranormal phenomena at this hotel. Sort of. Yeah, it wasn't really clear.
They don't really care.
Yeah, because it's supposedly a haunted hotel, and it's haunted by this one particular ghost whose backstory I don't remember. And
three ghosts.
Okay. What the hell was going on in that movie? I didn't really follow it. But yeah, it's a haunted hotel. Now, we're being very hard on the Innkeepers, but when it started, I didn't dislike it. I sort of liked it. The thing about this movie is it is very, very... I mean, a generous way to put it would be to say that it's deliberately paced. I think a lot of people would say it was very slowly paced.
Which is kind of what I hear about House.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say Ty West does like what they call like the slow burn, right? Like he takes a long time to build stuff. Now, on principle, that's a style of filmmaking I really enjoy. One of my favorite horror movies is The Haunting, where hardly anything happens. You don't really see any ghosts. It's all just done with noises and the reactions of the actors. Very minimalist. Even the original Halloween by John Carpenter.
Well, Ty West said like his favorite film of all time is The Shining, which this is almost The Innkeepers is almost a direct ripoff of The Shining.
Yeah,
it's like it crosses the line almost from homage to complete ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks almost exactly like it on a smaller scale.
Yeah, it's like a low rent Shining,
and it kind of follows it every beat, even towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think? I mean, you're never really surprised. You're kind of always waiting for that big shock to happen, and nothing ever does.
Yeah,
there are parts that I did like about it.
It is a well constructed film. You know what I mean? I mean, I always hate to completely dismiss something like this because Ty West knows what he's doing. He knows how to construct a scene with tension and build a story. I just don't think he really had a story here to tell. It's like the craft and the style are there, but it ultimately doesn't add up to anything. But I want to be careful in reviewing it because I'm afraid that it's going to come off as like, I didn't like this movie because it was slow paced. There wasn't enough that happened. But I think that's valid. That is valid, and that is true. But what I initially liked about the movie and why I stuck with it for a long time while we were watching it. It's an hour and a 40-minute movie, and I didn't give up on it until like maybe the last half hour.
It was an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long. You're never going to get that back. But I really wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. For the bulk of the movie, almost nothing happens.
All right, well, here's the best example of this movie, and it's like happens in the first 5 minutes.
Okay.
Is when he gets her to look at the screen. they've recorded things in this hotel, paranormal events.
Yep.
And the main guy is trying to get the girl to watch something that had happened on one of the screens that they captured. So she puts the headphones on, she's sitting there watching it, and it's just a rocking chair in the middle of a...
And it holds on that for a long time.
And it holds on it. That's the important part, is that it holds on it, and it goes for just kind of like a beat longer than you think it would. And you're like, oh, something might happen. And then it's just a cheap scare.
And
that's exactly
Innkeepers.
Representative of the entire movie.
Exactly. You know, that really sums it up. That is exactly true.
Because I thought that when that was happening, when it was going on.
Yep.
It goes on for a little bit, and you're like, all right, something's going to happen. Nothing happens. You keep watching it, and you're like, all right, what am I waiting for? And then, boom, cheap scare.
And we've all seen the cheap jump scares in movies. But you're right. He holds
the most famous horror movies do those.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with
Yes, but that's kind of all there was here. And you're right. Like Ty West holds it like a beat longer. There's something he knows how to construct these moments. But you're right. At the end of that scene, what did you get for waiting? Right, just a cheap jump scare. It's like okay,
it's a YouTube video.
Right now. All right, fine, cheap jump scare. Even the best horror movies, even the masterpieces of the genre, have a few cheap jump scares in them.
Yeah.
Fine. But that continued to be all that this movie delivered. There was nothing creative about the backstory with the ghosts. There was no...
I don't know if there was a backstory.
Yeah, there was no interesting twist at the end. There was ultimately nothing we hadn't seen before. So, yeah, ultimately, like, I kept wanting to like it, but there was just ultimately nothing there. You know, I appreciate minimalism, but this almost took it to an extreme where it was boring, you know? And at first I was like, okay, this is a director who doesn't have to put in a lot of flashy, camera moves. He doesn't have to do a lot of... overt musical cues. Although at the end, it fell back on that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
the best part is where I want to say it's towards the end, but then it just seemed to keep going on, so I don't even know if it was probably more towards the middle.
It's just added up to
where they're just like getting drunk in the hotel, and she's finally just like, all right, let's go down in the basement and find out what this ghost wants.
Right.
And that's exactly what I wanted at that moment.
Right.
Like, I don't care about this story. Just go find something. And
right.
I thought that was going to be the moment where they're like, where they pull the rug out from under you.
Yeah, and you're like, here's what this movie's about. Here's what's going on. Yep.
And they go down there, and it's a good scene. Where
they were all like good scenes.
Where they're sitting there, and she's standing right behind you, the ghost. And it's like a long beat.
Yeah.
And then you hear. Or you don't actually hear it. You see him with the headphones on.
And he's reacting to what he's hearing.
He's panicking.
Yeah.
He's like hearing something, but you're not hearing anything.
Yep.
And he's like, I want to go. I have to go. I have to
yep.
get out of here. And then she's like, he's right behind you. And then like, you blink, and 2 seconds later, that scene's over, and there's scenes of people walking down the stairs again.
Yeah, that was another problem I had with it too.
Going in circles.
Any scene could have happened at any point in the movie. Like that scene could have been the first scene. They didn't progress in their knowledge. The
main problem is like the script. They had nothing to learn.
Nothing. It didn't build to anything. It was just like scene after. Because you're right. Yeah, she saw the ghost at one point early on. And then that didn't really go anywhere, and then we're back to listening to the noises.
And also, I have to say that the ghosts are lame.
Yeah, well, they weren't bad, but it wasn't anything we hadn't seen before.
Exactly. A ghost in a wedding dress, a dead old guy in a bathtub with a lot of blood. Give me something else. Give me something more.
Yeah.
Like you can even use those conventions, but do something else with them. I thought it was really funny when they were drunk and they were like trying to...
Although, did the guy get drunk on like 2 beers in that scene? Because I was like, is he that drunk already? But, that was a...
Yeah, and it was Schlitz.
That's a minor gripe.
But
that was the least of this movie's problems.
Oh, I do have a question, though. This is kind of a non sequitur.
I did fall asleep for a little bit of it, so I hope it's not a question about that part.
That's all right. I might have... I don't even know if I fell asleep or not.
All right.
But at the very beginning, when the old Jamie Lee Curtis lady...
Yes, yep. There is a retired actress who has some psychic abilities who's reluctantly drawn into their investigations in this movie.
So
With Jamie Lee Curtis.
when they get the phone call, when she calls down to the front desk, she's like, "Send up, I need towels."
Mhm.
Like she panics. They go up there. She's already in the shower. So either she got in the shower,
Yeah.
knowing that there were no towels, or she's in the shower and she picks up the phone and she calls her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why would you get why would you get in the shower if you know there are no towels?
Well, that happened again in the movie because remember the young girl who worked there got in the shower, and then when she was done with the shower,
But she could have not noticed. You see, Jamie Lee Curtis Jamie Lee Curtis knew that there were no towels because she made the phone call.
yeah, but it could have been there could be a phone.
I just picture her in the shower, like, reaching out for a phone.
Yeah, there could be a phone in the. Some hotels have phones in the bathroom.
Okay, problem solved. I like the movie.
That clears it out.
I'm resolved.
Yeah, so basically this movie, unfortunate, and I don't like.
Oh, I have to say one other thing. Like,
Okay.
the first thing that I noticed is the acting was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't
It was just
like the
not
actors. I don't think I hated him
good.
as much. The girl was like cute,
I wanted to
kind
like
of
her.
funny. Yeah,
I wanted to like.
she's like a cute, perky. I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. Same
She's
with the
been
guy.
she's been in something else. But
Cute little blonde, actress. But
I liked her, but everything was just all filtered. And it was just monotone. It was all the
Yeah.
same level. Even when she's screaming, she's like, "Ah!"
yeah, and I thought
And
some of her
she's
screams
like-
were like almost like she was playing it for laughs. You know what I mean? And it didn't really fit. Just the way she like reacted, it didn't seem real. It seemed like she was trying to be quirky and cute, even as she was supposed to be terrified. And she had asthma, she had like an inhaler, but that didn't.
That's
really,
the only thing
that,
about her character that I know.
That
is
was her
she has
character. I
asthma.
think that was her character. Like, who were these people? Were they worried that the place where they worked was going to be like? Were they looking for other work because this hotel was closing down? Like, had they been investigating these paranormal events for years and years? And why are they just now? It seemed like they're figuring out what's going on. Why does the guy seem so apathetic and indifferent to these events he's
it just
supposedly
had a bunch
been
of stories
investigating?
it had a bunch of stories that weren't finished. Is where
It just
there's a
seemed
story
like
about the ghost
Yeah.
that could be interesting, but they don't go anywhere with it. There's another lady in the hotel with a child,
that went
which
nowhere.
goes nowhere.
There's whole scenes that are just there for no reason, like when she goes to the coffee shop and the annoying girl's working there and telling her about her relationship. Why was that scene in the movie? This movie could have been 90 minutes, and I probably would have liked it more.
But if that scene was only in there just as like comic relief, if it doesn't add anything to the plot, that's okay. But it wasn't funny.
But it wasn't funny.
It didn't work.
Yeah, nothing. It's just everything just ultimately sort of fell flat. It kind of, Ty West is a talented enough director, filmmaker that you think it's going to pay off, this kind of slow pace. But ultimately it doesn't. There's no idea here. There's just nothing here. So, a shame, as usually happens with these horror movies that generate a little bit of buzz, these new horror movies, it was a disappointment. So I would skip the Innkeepers, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
So are you done with Ty West now? Would you
No.
go back and check out?
No, there was enough in
House
it
of the
for
Devil?
me to keep going with it.
Yeah.
My introduction. That's why I was wondering why, like, how you got into it. If it was from the movie or it was from him, the director himself. Because for me,
No, I mean I didn't read any interviews with him before.
for me, I just happened to cross like an interview with him.
Yeah.
I'd never seen any of his movies. He just seemed really smart about films.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of come to that. I kind of come to like a lot of films that way, just like listening to the person talk. I know, like I started watching Rob Zombie's movies because I heard him speak about movies, and he was really intelligent about them. He knew what he was talking about. And you see his movies, and it translates on the screen. Ty West, I can sort of see like the structure of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Brian Bertino's the Strangers. I always remember when I saw that one, like my first reaction to it was, I like it, but I'd like to see this guy's next film.
Yes.
He hasn't really made.
And I still feel like that way about Ty West.
Yeah, maybe it takes him 2 where it took Brian Bertino 1, or maybe whatever. Brian Bertino's only made 1 film, and who knows, but I don't know, that's kind of where it stalls for me, is where I don't know if it's not if there's nothing there, then I'm like done. But for me, there's something there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I want to be careful giving this a negative review because it's not a piece of schlock like most of what's playing in the theaters this October probably is. It's not
even playing in theaters.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like there's no value. There's nothing here. This particular movie is probably not really worth seeing, but I would say Ty West is a director to continue to watch. And like Rob Zombie, I wonder if Ty West might not do well telling someone else's story, or even, God forbid, doing a remake, because my favorite Rob Zombie movie by far is his remake of Halloween. Now, I love the original Halloween, but I feel like Rob Zombie's movie is like a cool riff on it that kind of forced Rob Zombie to settle down a little bit and marry his style to a story we know has a rock solid structure. And you ended up with something really cool. So I think like Ty West has the style, he has the skill, he has the enthusiasm. He's a young guy, but he doesn't really have a story to tell yet. You know what I mean? So maybe that story needs to come from somewhere else.
But did he write the thing in VHS?
I guess I kind of assumed he did, or at least Cobra. I guess I'm not sure. We don't do any research before these. So we
barely even watch the movies.
We don't know what we're talking about. That before we did this, I was like, God, should we maybe take a day and look some stuff up on the internet?
Well, today
we'll just bring whatever knowledge we have, and people.
Turns out it's not much.
People will tell us in comments all the stuff we got wrong. This is a great first episode too, by the way. Slamming on a fan favorite director, and then just wait till we talk about Cabin in the Woods.
I call it the failed pilot.
Yeah, this is our failed pilot. This will never actually be posted. After we're famous, then it'll be put up as a curiosity. Okay, have we said enough about... I feel like we talked for about an hour and 40 minutes about The Innkeeper, which is the runtime of the movie. Is there anything else?
I didn't even know if you're still recording.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I forgot to record. No, we're recording. I hope. So, anything else to say about The Innkeepers?
Would you say I should see House of the Devil?
I would say you should see House of the Devil. With appropriately, moderated expectations. I do remember
while I'm cooking in the kitchen, have it playing
No,
in the
I
background?
mean don't expect it to be oh, that's Ty West's great film. I don't think Ty West has made his great film yet. I think he might not. I do remember enjoying House of the Devil more. What I really liked about it had the look of an 80s horror movie. I thought that was really cool. But I think my vague recollections of it are that there wasn't much interesting story-wise going on. Surprise, surprise. So maybe that's an unfortunate trademark of Ty West. He's got the style, but we need the substance.
Maybe it's kind of
But aren't you going to be curious when the next Ty West movie comes out? I feel like you'll pay attention to that. Yeah, I will too.
Now the name is here.
Yeah, it's a good name.
He does have a good name.
But yeah, I feel like
I think maybe it's kind of the equivalent of a Zack Snyder or something, where he has no idea how to tell a story, but he knows how to make a movie.
Well put.
Except The Innkeepers, he does not know.
No, I think it was just this is nothing going on. It seemed like he was ready to make a movie, and they just all the element. It looked like a movie, but it's just there was no movie there. But all right. Well, the other thing we wanted to talk about briefly. Well, I don't know how brief it'll be, but
I don't remember all. No. I mean, I saw it more recently.
Yeah, we wanted to discuss Cabin in the Woods, which is, of course, kind of a fan favorite new horror film, another new horror film, just released on DVD, of course, written by Joss Whedon of Buffy the Vampire Slayer fame.
The Avengers.
And The Avengers. People know that movie.
You can't talk about movies without mentioning The Avengers.
Yep. Which we like The Avengers. So, yeah, Cabin in the Woods. Directed by Drew Goddard, who did Cloverfield, right? Another
very underrated.
Yeah, good movie that we both like. So Cabin in the Woods. I saw it when it was originally in theaters. So
it wasn't a 3D movie or anything, was it?
I think Cabin in the Woods was in 3D. I'm almost sure they did do Cabin in the Woods in 3D, but I'm almost sure I saw it in 2D.
I don't think it was. I was kind of joking.
No, I think it was.
Really?
I think
Well,
it was.
I don't know. Everything's in 3D.
Yeah, I think that it was. I think that it was. But in any case, I didn't see it in 3D. You obviously didn't see it in 3D. You saw it just recently. I have not seen it since it was originally in theaters, so I won't be able to like really go in depth on it. But I'm very glad you watched it because I think it's a. While I was ultimately disappointed in the movie, I think I respect it for being an original sort of idea, bringing some creativity and freshness to the genre, and I think it will be an interesting movie to discuss. So, having seen it just recently, probably just a few days ago, right?
Yeah,
Maybe a week ago. Or
probably like a week ago. So.
What was your kind of overall take on Cabin in the Woods? I don't know if you want to like just briefly summarize the plot without maybe spoiling it, but
It's kind of a hard movie to explain without spoiling the
right.
plot. Although they do kind of just spoil the plot in the trailers. It's basically, it's weird to say, but it's kind of like a modern day Scream.
Oh yeah, it's easily
just
it's
because to me
closest-
Scream seems so
closest
recent.
equivalent is Scream.
But yeah, it's
It's
kind
a
of,
Scream for the 2000s.
yeah.
Even though there was a Scream in
feeling-
2000, Scream 4
Feeling old
underrated.
now. But it's like kind of like it starts out like kind of like Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a
Cabin in the Woods.
5.
Again, a very descriptive. These are very descriptive title movies.
Yes.
The Innkeeper is about Innkeeper.
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods is about Cabin in the Woods. Although with Cabin in the Woods, there is more going on.
But Cabin in the Woods blows it right away because Cabin in the Woods is about a cabin in the woods.
Yeah,
With
group of young people go to
The
stay.
archetypes of all the whatever.
Dumb blondes.
Yeah. The
nerd.
The nerd, the jock.
Stoner.
Whatever. But right away, I think they kind of blow it.
Well, the first scene is
The first scene is just kind of like guys talking in an office building.
yeah. So basically, you've got the structure of a typical horror movie where these kids go to stay at a cabin. They end up coming under attack by these supernatural forces. So that's kind of on one level of the movie, but behind that reality,
something's controlling it.
yeah, there is an organization who is manipulating and controlling this scenario for its own purposes.
Kinda
And
like
that aspect is laid out right away in the first scene. So we know it's not just a movie about kids in a cabin in the woods. We
Kind
know
of like
that there's
Hunger
this
Games
behind
with
it.
a horror movie element to it,
Mhm.
where you find out that people are pulling strings and kind of coordinating everything that's going on, which never quite becomes clear to me. I don't know. Maybe it does.
Like as far as how they're doing it or why they're doing it.
Kind of the purpose of it.
Okay. I think I understand the purpose of it.
I mean, I know the purpose of it, but you can't necessarily follow it from scene to scene and be like, this happened because X happened because of Y. They don't connect up together. There's also kind of a lot of wasted opportunities, I think.
And I'm sure there's a lot of, like, if I was to go back and really look at it, knowing, like, the whole thing, now it's like, oh, wait, but that doesn't make sense. And, you know, and I'm sure it's one of those movies.
I don't have really a problem with that, necessarily, like, because if you go through it once and you enjoy the experience, that's it. It did its job.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
You go back again, you watch it. You could watch whatever, like Casablanca or Citizen Kane 10 times and find a million mistakes.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you still remember that experience. Mentioning Cloverfield, I went back and watched Cloverfield. It didn't have the same impact as it did when I was watching it on television screen, but I remember going to it in the theaters, and the first thing I thought is, like, this is like an amusement park ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was
And
that was
in a
great.
good way, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it wasn't like the teacups.
Yeah.
It was like a big ride, and it did its job. This ultimately, I don't think does its job.
Nope.
Very well.
I agree.
But it's not a wasted idea.
Yeah.
They didn't like blow the idea. But what I was saying about the beginning where they kind of blew it is immediately they start cutting back and forth to both worlds.
Mm-hmm. And the first scene is this government agency who's behind the scenes, who's controlling episodes. So right away, you never, ever think it's just about a cabin in the woods. Right. I mean, the trailers would have spoiled it anyway, but...
But also right away, they kind of hint that something's going on, but you don't. They kind of don't want you to know what's going on.
Right. They don't want it all
But
to
the
be
very
it's all
first thing you see,
slowly
you
revealed.
know exactly what's going on. Maybe you don't know the details, like why, like the motivation why they're doing it.
And you don't. I think it's fair to say you don't know where the movie's going to end up.
No.
You know what I mean? I think it goes. You don't know what it's all. I think because they like you could imagine they had done this movie and it starts out cabin in the woods. They start out with the kids, and then at the end, it's revealed like an M. Night Shyamalan type twist. Someone's been controlling, manipulating this the whole time. You could imagine them doing that movie this way. They deliberately didn't do it that way. I think the advantage of not doing it that way is that you're
not waiting for the big moment.
It doesn't reduce it to a twist ending. They give you the twist right up front. And then it becomes about, well, where are they going to go with this? How far are they going to go with this? Where is this movie going to end up? And I do think by the end of the movie, you are watching a movie that looks very different than the type of movie you probably thought you were going to be watching.
But those Sixth Sense, M. Night Shyamalan's.
So that's a lot easier to say.
M. Night Shyamalan is a lot easier to say than the Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
But those type of endings, I think, are really like hack to do.
But The Sixth Sense is a great movie.
That's the best example of it. But then, of course, every movie following it.
And almost all horror movies have that. Innkeepers could have used it.
So yeah, you don't think a slamming door does the trick?
You spoiled the ending of the Innkeepers.
Oh God!
Oh my God! We'll warn people to skip over that part.
Oh man! Just when you see a door, be prepared.
Brace yourself. Poor Innkeepers. All right, back to Cabin in the Woods.
I've lost my train of thought. I was just okay.
The Sixth Sense.
Well, yeah, okay. So those type of endings don't work.
Yeah, usually
they did work and they can work, but they've just been way overdone.
To the point where they're almost like required.
And then Cabin in the Woods does the exact opposite, where it gives it away right away.
Yeah, and I appreciated that.
I don't think that worked.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I think maybe there's like a happy medium.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of slowly reveal and give kind of plot points away.
Why don't you think it works in Cabin in the Woods?
Because I don't know. Maybe it's from the previews, but I think like ultimately you see exactly where this is going. All right, maybe you don't know exactly what the last scene is going to look like or what that will be.
I mean, did you know there's going to be so many different kinds of monsters and creatures? I mean,
I didn't, but that didn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
But that's another good example of kind of like a wasted opportunity. Is that one thing I liked? I liked the zombies that were in the movie. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, before we slam on it too much, we should mention that this movie does feature a pain-worshipping zombie who hurls bear traps at people. I mean...
And nudity.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, there's good stuff in this movie.
I didn't hate this movie.
No.
But I did like those zombies. And then they kind of hint at that there's other kind of monsters waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
You see, like, werewolves in the movie, but they never quite use all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like the characters make the decision to go with the zombies, you know.
Yep.
So then you're kind of stuck with that.
Yeah.
And you kind of get the hint, like, oh, maybe if they'd done something a little different, they would have like summoned another type of monster.
Well, yeah.
So
and we see the group in Japan kind of having their own kind of Japanese horror movie style, which I thought was clever. I love the whole Japanese thing with the Japanese schoolgirls.
But I almost kind of wish like there would have been like a monkey wrench thrown in there, where like the system kind of stopped working, and it kind of did towards the end, but there wasn't enough. It's like because that's what I mean from the very beginning. Is it just played out exactly like the way you think it would. Like there's a million different directions it could go, but ultimately that doesn't really mean anything. I could have written a story. All right, they summon a merman.
Yeah.
And he comes and attacks them. They all die. They end up in the place where they do at the end. It's the same characters and they're dead.
Yeah.
It's like it could have gone a million directions, but ultimately they're all kind of equal.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see like maybe one person summons one kind of monster and one person summons another kind of monster. Those monsters like fight. Like it just kind of it needed to be a little more complex, which sounds kind of odd because it is kind of a complicated idea.
Yeah, like people who haven't seen our hearing us discuss it are probably like, what the fuck is this movie like actually about? Yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, here's my take on Cabin in the Woods, and because I think we have the same issue with it. I just think we're going to maybe articulate it a little bit differently. So tell me what you think of this, like, kind of take on it. I liked that they revealed right away that there was more going on than just kids in a cabin in the woods. I like that to a certain extent. And also I should mention Bradley Whitford is one of the guys who plays one of the government guys controlling everything. I love Bradley Whitford. I didn't know he was in this movie, so it was great to see him in the first scene. And the first scene is great. I mean, they have...
it's fine for what it is.
And when they cut to the title, you know, I mean, that's like a cool opening. It kind of reminded me of the opening of like Funny Games. So I sort of like the structure. I'm glad they didn't just make it a twist ending. But here was my problem with that. That did two things. It robbed the movie of a certain tension. So while
I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
So while this movie was clever and it can lead to interesting discussions, and I think it will be a lot of fun for horror fans because it really, you know, depends on the audience knowing like, oh yeah, that's a kind of like Cenobite character, you know what I mean? And like, okay, yeah, we've seen this kind of thing before, just combined in new ways. It was not itself an effective horror movie at all. It failed as a horror movie.
Did you like the big cartoon hand at the end?
No, because I kind of wanted there to be a sequel about the Japanese a
kaiju.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it was sort of a kaiju. So, it was a little cheesy, but and the actress that Joss Whedon chose to like be the person behind everything was very like, it's like, oh, okay, I get it, Joss Whedon.
That's that's the only funny thing that I like in that movie at the very end when they're like, when they say that she's the virgin, she's like, a virgin, me? And they're like, well, we take what we can get.
Right.
Now that's kind of a funny commentary on horror films because there are no virgins anymore. You know, it's like, what do you do in that situation? Mm-hmm. Like, that doesn't make sense if they were to actually
could say so many things I thought were clever about this movie. I love that the stoner guy was the guy who ultimately like figured out what's going on.
I hated that guy.
Oh, really? Oh, he's hilarious, though. I loved him on Dollhouse. And
I don't know.
I should say, too, like, I'm a big Joss Whedon fan, like a huge Joss Whedon fan, so I had high expectations going into this movie. I love horror, love Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon writing a horror movie. I thought this may be the best movie ever. I didn't really think that, but I was very excited for the. It had
potential.
It had potential, and it was at best it was a clever commentary on horror movies. Although I don't even know that it was that clever of a commentary, but it failed as a horror movie. So that I didn't like because it was robbed of any tension. And what it also did by revealing what was going on at the beginning was, you're right, Scream is like the most obvious like movie to compare this to because they're both like self-referential horror movies that depend on the audience having some knowledge of horror movies going into it, right? But the difference is Scream puts you in a sympathetic situation with the victims, the characters, right? This movie put you in a position where you knew more than the characters knew. You felt smarter than the characters.
Yeah.
You knew they were being manipulated. So I felt like that. I would think that Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard would want to humanize the characters in a horror movie. I would think that would be important to them, just knowing their sensibility as a filmmaker.
Well, here's what I thought you were going to say is that, kind of is what you're saying, is that Scream was able to comment on the horror movies
while also being an effective horror movie. Absolutely.
This one comments on the slasher film
without
quite being.
Yes, I agree.
You get hints of it.
Yep.
With the zombies, which I like. They each had a different type of redneck weapon.
Yeah.
Which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to see like a guy riding one of those big, like a zombie redneck riding a big like hay baler.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like with the big blades in the front. Like my mind all of a sudden goes like all these things they could have done.
Yeah, you were like thinking of a better movie.
And then kind of like trying to imagine a better movie. But I mean, that's not out of like Joss Whedon's realm. You know, he would have been able to come up with that, but it ultimately kind of goes in another direction.
Yeah, you know what the funny
it
thing
has
is?
its own agenda.
Yeah.
Which is not really necessarily a story that needs to be told.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like when I was telling my friend, I'm like, explain, because he of course really loves Cabin in the Woods. That's almost everybody I've talked to does. And again, I like it, but you know, I told him that I'm like, it's a commentary, but it's not effective as a horror movie. And he's like, well, I don't think they were really trying to be an effective horror movie. I don't think that was the purpose. I think it was just a comment on horror movies and why we need horror movies, why we like horror movies. And my reaction to that, I'm like, well, if that was their intention, the comment should have been more interesting. Like, ultimately, like, if you're not interested in making a horror movie, you better make sure the commentary is interesting. And I didn't think they had that. It wasn't that. It was clever, but not that clever. It wasn't clever enough to make up for the fact that I was not enjoying this, like, as a horror movie, you know? But it's funny with Cabin in the Woods, you know, well written, there's enough good stuff there. I wonder if Drew Goddard, great director on his own, but if Joss Whedon directing this himself wouldn't have been enough to really elevate it. You know, that might have been enough. You know, there might have been enough good stuff there. Joss Whedon himself kind of overseeing it, fine-tuning it a little bit, ushering it in himself, might have been enough to make it a really great movie. You know?
Yeah, so who wrote this film?
It's co-written by Whedon and Goddard, I believe. I don't know if there were other co-writers, but...
So where Scream was written by like Kevin Williamson,
right,
and then handed to a great
Wes
horror
Craven.
director like Wes Craven. This should have been written by Drew Goddard and handed to a great director, kind of like Joss Whedon.
I think that's fair, and it's not like I can't really point to any problems, you know, with like Goddard's directing necessarily.
The way you talk about it makes it seem like it's kind of like a failed effort, but I don't think it's a failure. I think it works.
It failed to be a great movie, but I always tell people it's worth seeing. I told you it's worth seeing, and most people who've seen it end up liking it. So I would recommend that people see it if they haven't seen it. But I find it an interesting movie to discuss because I think it was not as successful as I hoped it would be, as it ultimately could have been. So it's kind of for me it was a disappointment, but not a waste of time. Whereas the Innkeepers, there's no reason to see the Innkeepers.
The what?
But there's a reason to see Cabin in the Woods. Like, you could get something out of it. You know what I mean?
Sort of.
Well, I mean, you know, it at least it tried. At least it had See, I mean, it's like Ty West should have directed Cabin in the Woods because they had the idea. And Ty West has, like, the skill as, like, a horror filmmaker to build tension into his movies.
That always does seem to be the problem.
If they could have, like, matched them up together, you could have had, like, a good movie. I just felt like when I was watching Cabin in the Woods, I could hear Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard, like, coming up with the ideas for the movie. Do you know what I mean?
I thought you were going to say you could hear Joss Whedon, like, in the background groaning, like, ugh.
No, I think he's proud of the movie, you know, but it was a bit, like, it was too on the nose, you know what I mean? Like, the commentary was, like, too obvious. Like,
that's what I mean. Like, they should have thrown a wrench in there.
Yeah.
There should have been some other element.
So
they should have had like a sixth character come in and be like, "Who the hell are you?"
Yeah, and not.
Like, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a jock or like.
Right. Yep.
Throw it off balance or something, or they accidentally. I don't know. I'm writing like a different.
Right,
movie
but no, it was like Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard sat down and said, like, let's make a horror movie. What should our horror movie be about? Why do people watch horror movies? Why do we need to make and watch horror movies? Well, this is why I think it is. Great. That's the movie. You know what I mean? There was never... It's like you could just hear them discussing it. You know what I mean? It's just like you could... Sometimes it's good when you can see the hand of the filmmakers, but on this one you could see the hand of the filmmakers a little bit too much. You know what I mean?
You see the cartoon hand.
There's literally a cartoon hand. It could have been like Joss Whedon's hand. Yeah, so it... ultimately it was... Like I said, worth seeing. I would not say it's a bad movie by any means. I suspect it is destined to become something of a cult classic on DVD. Because I think, like... There's a lot of horror fans I think will appreciate it and like it, but for me it was a disappointment.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
I'm sorry.
So this was a terrible idea to do our pilot episode with, like, slamming on like two movies that.
Or let's start out discussing a movie about which there's nothing to say.
Right. We have our first movie had nothing to say. Our second movie is a movie that everybody loved, and we'll say how we were disappointed with.
I hated the Avengers.
So tune in next time where we will, just take a dump all over your favorite horror film, probably. All right. Well, thanks for watching our little kind of pilot effort here. We certainly enjoy watching these movies, so hopefully you guys will enjoy hearing us talk about them, so that we can keep doing these little videos.
And here's to my first and last appearance.
No, Jordan. This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Well said.
Okay. On that note, goodbye. Happy Halloween.
Bye.